Well, thank you very much. It's a great. I want to thank you all for your hospitality and for coming to this lecture. I think this conference that's going on here is a wonderful idea. So I hope this lecture will be a good start to get people thinking about retributivism and anger. So I will begin, as I often do, with an example from literature, because I think it actually helps us to think about the problem. And this is from a Greek tragedy by Aeschylus, a drama which depicts the foundation of political democracy. So at the end of Aeschylus's Oresteia, two transformations take place in the archaic world of the characters. One is famous, the other often neglected. In the famous transformation, the goddess Athena introduces legal institutions to replace and terminate the seemingly endless cycle of blood vengeance, setting up a court of law with established procedures of reasoned argument and the weighing of evidence, and a jury selected from the citizen body of Athens. She announces that blood guilt will from now on be settled by law, rather than by the Furies, the ancient goddesses of revenge. But, and this is part and parcel of her famous transformation of the Athenian community, the Furies are not simply dismissed. Instead, Athena persuades them to join the city, giving them a place of honor beneath the earth and recognizing their importance for those same legal institutions and the future health of the city. Typically, this move of Athena's is understood to be a recognition that the legal system must incorporate the dark retributive passions and honor them. The suggestion is that retribution itself remains unaltered, but it simply has a new house built around it. The Furies agree to accept the constraints of law, but they retain an unchanged nature, dark and vindictive. That reading, however, ignores the second transformation, which is a transformation in the nature and demeanor of the Furies themselves. At the outset of the drama, the Furies are described as repulsive and horrifying. They are said to be black, disgusting, their eyes drip a hideous liquid. Apollo says that they're vomiting up clots of blood that they've ingested from their prey. And he says that they belong in some barbarian tyranny, where it's customary to kill people arbitrarily, to mutilate, and to torture them. Nor when they awaken do the Furies give the lie to these grim descriptions. As the ghost of Clytemnestra calls them up, they don't even speak, but they simply moan and whine, noises characteristic of animals. And in fact, in the Greek text, it says ougmos and oigmos. These are animal noises. And then later, as they start to speak, their only words are, get him, get him, get him, get him, get him, as close to a predator's hunting cry as the genre allows. If the Furies are later given articulate speech, as of course poetry demands, we are never to forget this initial characterization. What Aeschylus is doing here is to depict unbridled resentment. It is obsessive, destructive, existing only to inflict pain and ill. As the 18th century philosopher Bishop Butler observes much later, no other principle or passion hath for its end the misery of our fellow creatures. In its zeal for blood, it is subhuman. And Apollo's idea is that this rabid breed belongs somewhere else, in some society that doesn't try to moderate cruelty. Surely not in a society that claims to be civilized. So, unchanged, these Furies could not be part and parcel of a working legal system committed to the rule of law. You don't put wild dogs in a cage and come out with justice. However, the Furies do not make the transition to democracy unchanged. Until quite late in the drama, they are still their bestial selves, threatening to disgorge their venom on the land. Then, however, Athena persuades them to alter themselves so as to join her enterprise. Lull to sleep the bitter force of your black wave of anger, she tells them. But of course, that means a very profound transformation, indeed a virtual change of identity, so bound up are they with anger's obsessive force. She offers them incentives to join the city, a place of honor, reverence from the citizens. But the condition of this honor is that they become human, not totally taken up with revenge, but able to adopt a new range of sentiments, especially benevolent sentiments toward the entire city. They must also refrain, she says, from stirring up anger within it. The deal is that if they do good and they have and express kindly sentiments, they will receive good treatment and be honored. Perhaps most fundamentally transformative of all, they must listen to reason, that is, to the voice of persuasion. All of this, needless to say, is not just external containment, it's a very profound inner reorientation. They accept her offer, and they say they're going to express themselves with gentle-tempered intent, using the word that Aristotle will use much later to express mildness of temper. Each person, they declare, should give generously to each in what they call a mindset of common love, koinophile dianoia. Not surprisingly, they are transformed physically in related ways. They apparently stand up, so they've been crouching like dogs. They apparently assume an erect posture for the procession that concludes the drama, and they receive robes and garlands from a group of citizen women who escort them. So in other words, they've become women rather than beasts. And their very name is changed. They're now called the Eumenides, the kindly ones, rather than the Furies. This second transformation is just as crucial and significant as the first one. Indeed, it's vital for the success of the first one. Aeschylus is trying to show us that political justice does not simply put a cage around resentment, it must fundamentally transform it from something hardly human, obsessive, bloodthirsty, to something fully human, accepting of reasons, calm, deliberate, something that protects life rather than threatening it. The indignation that inhabits just institutions is not an angry sentiment at all. It's a measured judgment in defense of life. The Furies are still needed because this is an imperfect world and there always will be crimes to be dealt with, but they are not wanted or needed in their original shape or form. Indeed, they are not their old selves at all. They've become instruments of justice and human welfare. The city is liberated from the scourge of vindictive anger, which produces civil strife and premature death. In the place of anger, the city gets forward-looking justice. It's no accident that the major Greco-Roman philosophers from Socrates to Seneca were all strong opponents of retributivism in the criminal law and defenders of a welfare-based deterrent conception of punishment. Another liberation goes unexplored but invites our imaginations. It is the liberation of the private realm. In the old world of the Furies, the family and love, familial and friendly, were burdened by the continual need to avenge something for someone. The need for retaliation was unending, and it shadowed all relationships, even those apparently benign, like Orestes' friendship with his sister Electra. Revenge made it impossible, really, for anyone to love anyone. But now law takes over the task of dealing with crime, leaving the family free to be a place of reciprocal goodwill. It's not that there are no more occasions for anger in the family, of course there are, but if they're very serious, they're turned over to the law. And if they're not serious, why should they long trouble reciprocal concern? As Aristotle will later say, the gentle-tempered person, and that's using that same word that Aeschylus used, is not vengeful, but instead is inclined to sympathetic understanding. So law gives us a double benefit. It keeps us safe on the outside, and it permits us to care for one another, unburdened by retributive anger on the inside. That's my normative idea in a nutshell, but it's radical and evokes strong opposition.